Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our OH2023 talk from the Diploma in Psychology Studies. And thank you again for taking the time to join me and to find out more about what psychology studies in Thematic Poly can offer to all of you, right? So before we start, I hope that you all can hear me very clearly. And later on, we can expect a lot of very interesting information that you can actually gain from this particular session. And before we start the talk proper, maybe let me just go through some admin matters. All right. So for those of you who have any questions regarding the diploma, please type your questions in the chat section. Only to the HSS Q&A. If you can see in the chat, there is one of our colleagues, as in the profile name is HSS Q&A. So please forward your questions to HSS Q&A, or you can click on the Q&A tab found below at the bottom screen of your Zoom's platform. All right, and I will be more than glad to be able to answer all your questions as long as the time permits. Right, it's going to be around 45 to 50 minutes of session, starting with my sharing with about the diploma. And I will leave some time aside to answer some of your queries and questions. All right, so the audience will not be able to unmute during the talk, and all questions will be answered at the end of the virtual talk. All right. So also to share and also to inform all of you that this particular virtual talk will be recorded, and it will be shared on the TP Open House microsite at the end, by the end of the day, so that for those of students who have they are not available to attend this talk this morning, they will be able to listen to the recording at their own time by the end of the day. All right. Okay. Okay. So we shall start. So the speakers for today, let me introduce myself. I'm Mr. Izad, and I'm the manager for the Diploma in Psychology Studies. All right. And I'll be sharing with you some course-related matters and information that I think will be very helpful for all of you potential students who are thinking about joining the diploma after, all right, you have gotten your O-level results, right? And at the second half of today's talk, I will be inviting Zach, psychology year 2 student, okay? And he has actually kindly recorded a presentation to share about his student life in the diploma. And later on, we will hear more from Zach, okay? So let's all think about what psychology is all about. And some of you may think, oh, if you study psychology, you can read people's minds, you can alter people's behavior. Okay, so that's all not true. It's a myth. But what psychology is all about is that it's the study, okay, of human behavior and cognition using scientific methodology. Now, in psychology, you conduct a lot of research based on scientific evidence, and provide a conclusive finding based on the data that we have collected. So it is very scientific, and it's not something that we just pluck from the air. All right. So psychology itself, okay, by studying the different theories, the elements of psychology, we will then be able to understand better why humans, people behave in a certain manner. All right. Okay, so I'm going to maybe share with you some of the phenomenons or some of the theories that we teach our students in the diploma program. And one of the phenomenons that we expose to our students is this thing called the change blindness. Okay, I'm going to play this video, and hopefully you are able to hear the audio of my video. And this particular change blindness assignment was actually created and developed by our students themselves as part of their assignment deliverable. Okay, so I would like all of you to watch the video and follow the instructions, and later on I will explain more what change blindness is all about. Okay, so enjoy. Okay, let's look at the behind the stage and behind the screen. Okay, so that was change blindness, and this particular phenomenon or theory is covered in one of our core modules known as cognitive psychology. And one of the assignment deliverables will require students to replicate some of these phenomenons based on their own creativity, so that they are able to apply their understanding of that particular phenomenon or theory. All right. So change blindness, some of you may ask what it is. What is it all about? It is actually a phenomenon in visual perception in which very large changes occur in full view in a visual scene that are not noticed. All right. And for example, okay, change blindness occurs in our daily lives. Sometimes we fail to see certain changes, and sometimes that can itself pose as a hazard or a danger. So, for example, a driver may fail to look at certain changes, whether or not there's cyclists crossing the road or pedestrians, and they fail to pay attention to those kind of change, and accidents may happen. Change blindness also actually happen in real world. For example, the air traffic control, disasters, and even fatalities could result if in an air accident. All right, if the traffic controller, the air traffic controller failed to detect changes when monitoring takeoff, landings, and flight paths. All right, so that is change blindness. And another very interesting example would be the eyewitness testimony, right? On the theory of change blindness, researchers have found that change blindness can affect an eyewitness ability to recount the details of a crime or to correctly identify the perpetrator. Okay, so all these things are very interesting, but yet it occurs in our daily lives. So in psychology diploma itself, we will expose our students to all these phenomena and theories so that they're able to understand why these things occur and how do we then prevent all these things from happening. Okay, right? Okay, so that's change blindness for you. Okay, and later on we're going to go through, I'm going to show you another phenomenon, but before that, we will move on with more information about the course. Okay, so let's talk about the course structure for Diploma in Psychology Studies. So if you can see, we have the foundational modules, and these modules are core modules that all psych students will need to take throughout their entire 3-year program in the course. And the main objective for these foundational modules is to actually to allow students to lay foundational in psychology so that they have a very strong base and foundational knowledge before they move on to other areas in psychology. Okay, and of course, in the diploma program, we offer elective, we get them to be exposed in electives where they are able to, explore interest in psychology in the different areas, whether it's in the social services or in the special needs education. All right. This elective concentration is really to allow students to establish job anchors so that they will be able to know which area in the sector that they want to immerse in with the knowledge that they have gained from the diploma program. All right. Okay. So let's look at the course structure in year 1. So we have all these subjects that all year 1 students will take in their first year of program. We have the cognitive psychology, developmental psychology, intro to research methods and statistics, intro to social services, as well as survey and qualitative research methods. Now, all these subjects are core modules, and all students will need to pass these core modules in order to graduate from the diploma program. Okay, so let me maybe just share a little bit about some of these subjects in the year 1 of study. Okay, so for example, cognitive psychology, right? This subject will explore thematic areas of human information processing. We talk about the cognitive abilities as well as the perception. And students taking this module will be able to explore topics such as sensory perception, attention, learning, memory, and other things that involves the information processing of the brain. Okay. In fact, the phenomenon that you have seen earlier is covered in this particular module. Okay. Now, for developmental psychology, this particular subject examines theories and methodologies covered in the development of human beings. Okay, you will explore and gain a deeper understanding on how people change at each developmental phase of their life. Okay, as a result of interaction between innate factors and external experiences. Okay, so that's some of the information about some of the modules that students take at year 1. But if you would like to find out more about the subjects and the synopsis of all these subjects, you can go to our TP Psych website. And later on, at the end of the talk, I'll be able to share with you the QR code to direct you to the website itself. All right. Okay. Now, in year 2, okay, there'll be more subjects that students will need to take, right? And as you can see, there is a combination of research subjects. That means the applied psychology project A and B, as well as contempt issues in psychology. We also have group work processes and facilitation, as well as introduction to special needs education. Now, in year 2, specifically in semester 2 of year 2, right? That means year 2.2 in the October semester, students will have the chance to, they are required to take on 2 electives, all right, in that particular semester. Okay, and later on, I will share with you what are those electives. Yeah. Now, for contempt issues, for example, you may ask, oh, what is contempt issues in psychology? For this particular subject, it is a very unique mode of delivery where it involves seminars and workshops conducted by students for deeper study and inquiry into special topics, exploring the application of psychology, all right, which is in relation to, personal, social, and organizational settings. Okay, and of course, students will be supervised by our lecturers or sometimes our industry partners. Okay, all right. So for that, for experimental design and statistics, for example, this particular subject equips you to address more complex research questions, and you'll be given the opportunity to apply all the knowledge and employ statistical software to analyze and interpret data from a range of psychological experiments. Okay, so as you can see, we try to equip students with a deeper range of research skills, because again, research is really part and parcel of psychology itself. Yeah, all right. Now, in the final year, year 3, lesser subjects, but slightly more intense, because in year 3, students, the final year students, will be taking their major project, otherwise known as the final year project. All right, and this is a 1-year-long subject where students will work directly with industry partners to come up with deliverables that will be used by the industry partner itself. So it's very applied, and it's going to be something that is going to be of use to the beneficiaries of that particular organization that the students are working with. All right. Now, for community psychology, this is also another core module where it helps you to understand the ecological interaction between individuals, groups, or even the organizational community. All right, and students, again, they will be they will be having hands-on experience to work with the industry partners in the sector itself. So as much, I think, for our diploma, we will try our best to really immerse our students in the sectors itself, so that students can, really have that applied experience to work and come up with deliverables that will be meaningful and will be of use, of good use by the organizations out there. All right. Okay. And for year 3 itself, the final year students will also be taking on the last elective, which is a third elective of their choice. Okay, in the year 3 in semester 1. Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned earlier on about the diploma electives, right? So for the diploma electives, there are 2 clusters. One is this, social service, as well as the other one, the second one, is the special needs education, right? For the social service cluster, okay, these are the electives that are offered to our students. We have abnormal psychology, deviant behavior, and rehabilitation, as well as health psychology. Now, students are able to indicate their interests, and then they're able to select based on the electives that will be offered in that particular semester. All right, and then they are able to delve into areas that they want to find out more or have a very keen interest in. All right. Now, in the special needs education cluster of electives, we have the assessments and interventions, classroom management, as well as evidence-based strategies. Now, for these particular electives, students, they are interested in working with students with special needs, and they would want to find out more about how do we then conduct behavioral assessment, or to conduct, or even to design a lesson plan to better enhance, or to enhance the learning of students and individuals with special needs across all ages. Okay. Now, evidence-based strategies is taken at the last, normally at the in the year 3, where it is more students are able to then again, similar to contempt issues earlier on, they will be able to conduct a seminar for a deeper study in that particular evidence-based strategy. All right. So they will it's more applied, and it's more intensive in a sense, so that they can enhance their knowledge in that particular area. Okay. Right. So besides the diploma course and the electives, we also have the TP fundamentals. And what it means is that everyone in TP, in Temasek Poly, students will be taking some TP fundamental subjects. All right. So we have the student internship program. It means that everyone in Temasek Poly will have to take some of these subjects. Yeah. We have guided learning, and all these things will be very interesting. Not so it's outside the diploma core content, but I think it's a very good exposure to to allow the learners and students in TP to be more holistic as a person. All right. Okay. So if you want to find out more about the TP fundamental subjects, you can also go to our TP website or even to our site website. Okay. Okay. So why choose us? All right. So some of you are still maybe in the midst of while waiting for your O-level results, or maybe planning for future plans. You may know whether or not which diploma is most suited for you. Okay. So for those of you who are very keen in psychology itself, okay, you may think, okay, what makes the Diploma of Psychology Studies in Temasek Poly very, very attractive and appealing. Okay, all right. So first of all, we provide that excellent education foundation in psychology to all our students. And we are very unique in the sense that our emphasis is on special needs education and social services, because we see that there is a very huge job demand and very good prospects in these two sectors, where psychology, as you all know, psychology can be applied in all areas, in all sectors. Okay. We also, have a strong emphasis on research methods. And in fact, that's one of our strengths, where our students are very well equipped in research methods. And we have won numerous national competitions in research across Singapore against other institutions as well. Okay. And on top of all this, we also have very highly qualified lecturers with at least a master's degree and a PhD, right? And all of us in the team, we have our own areas of specializations in psychology, in the different areas of psychology. Okay, so we have a wide range, a diverse profiles of lecturers to be able to meet the learning needs of our students in the diploma program. Okay, right? Okay, so there are similar psychology-related diplomas in Singapore. As some of you may know, Singapore Poly offers diploma in human resource management with psychology. Ngee Poly, they used to have one, but now they merge into diploma in community development. And for us, Temasek Poly, ours, we offer a pure diploma in psychology studies. All right. So again, depending on your needs, this will be some of the information that you may need for you to explore and find out which diploma will best suit your needs. All right. And for you to pursue your dreams and your interests. All right. Okay. So what are the career opportunities in the field? As I've mentioned earlier on, psychology is applicable in all areas. In fact, in many sectors, okay, it's not just focused on one particular sector. Okay, under the human and social services, for example, you can, if you want to be a counselor or a social worker, or to work with the community or even the admin staff, there are these opportunities there. Okay, and of course, with a diploma, you can be a social work assistant, for example, or a psychological assistant, or even a special needs education teacher. All right. For the educational services, as mentioned, you can explore all these areas in the education sector. All right, and some of our graduates have actually gone into this area where they applied their knowledge in developmental psychology, in social psychology, as well as in the special needs modules that they have taken to apply to their students with diverse learning abilities. All right, so that kind of equip them with the relevant knowledge needed in that particular profession. Okay, so other career opportunities, of course, includes the research areas, where some of our alumni are working now in the research area, as a researcher in governing bodies such as Ministry of Education and other ministries. All right. Okay. So for our graduates, I think some of the jobs held by our graduates include such para-counselor. These are all under the human and social services sector. Youth worker to work with youths at risk or youth with very challenging family background. We also have under the educational services, as mentioned, we do have alumni or graduates that they are now working as a psychology assistant, early childhood educator, learning support officer, or even as a SPED, otherwise known as a special education teacher in the special education schools. All right. So these are some of the areas. So again, as you have realized, with a diploma in psychology, it opened up your doors to a lot of opportunities, job opportunities in various sectors. So to cater to the diverse interest, right, of our potential students or our graduates. Now, other career opportunities will include, again, our graduates. Some of them are now working as a research assistant or as a public relations executive. Okay, so this is Jane, and I think if you have actually visited our open house yesterday, or maybe you're planning to come today, you'll be able to see a huge poster of Jane, and she is one of our alumni. All right, and she is now an associate psychologist with the Association for Persons with Special Needs. All right, so it doesn't mean that you're with you're having a diploma in psychology or a degree doesn't mean that you will be in one particular sector. Even in other areas, there will be opportunities for you to apply your knowledge in psychology. Okay, so for Jane, what she has shared, and she would like to communicate this to all students and her juniors, is that our diploma has helped her to hone analytical and critical thinking skills, which would then, of course, have benefited her to deliver evidence-based interventions, okay, to allow students or to enable them with special needs, those with special needs, to access learning. Okay. At the same time, with taking the TP fundamentals and other communication subjects, those subjects have developed her interpersonal skills, which will be very useful in the work settings, because she, at this point, she is required and to collaborate with different stakeholders, including teachers and other professionals, right? So that's Jane. So if, let's say, with higher degrees, if some of you may think about, furthering your studies, with higher degrees, you can be a psychologist in a specialized field. You can be a child protection officer, counselor, behavior therapist, autism coach, so on and so forth. All right, so these are some of the areas. And of course, all this information, you can also look it up on our website, our psychology website. Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Now we're going to move on to our second phenomenon. And this, okay, I am showing you this particular object. Okay, it's like a lozenge shape, all right? And you can see that there are two tones of gray and one is darker than the other, all right? So I would like all of you now in front of your screen, right? You can see, I would like you to place your index finger horizontally here, all right? In the middle of the shape, where this, in the middle here, place it so that you can cover, your finger can cover the middle part of this particular shape here. Okay, all right. So I would like you to do it now and just place it horizontally in the middle of the lozenge shape. Okay, all right. And once you have done that, you will notice that suddenly the shape is now only one shade of gray. Okay, so it is like an illusion, right? What's the illusion, you may ask? Okay, so in fact, all along is actually a one shade of gray. Okay, but when you're seeing now without the finger, it's two shades. All right, so this particular illusion is called the consuit illusion. All right, and basically it works by contrast. Okay, so when we look at something, we perceive its color, and shading relative to other things in the area and how we perceive it's being lit. All right. So in the picture here, we perceive the diagram or the scene as three-dimensional, right? With the light source and all those things. It looks very three-dimensional. And of course, with the shadow, right? But of course, what it means is that now, okay, once you have done that particular experiment, it means that our brain sees the upper part of the shape as lit while the bottom one is shadowed. Okay, so there's like a contrast, all right, and it matters with how our brains interpret the image. Okay, and that's why we think that the upper one is darker than the bottom one. All right. So again, this concept illusion is also under the visual perception covered in the subject of cognitive psychology. Okay, and it's a very interesting module. So if you are in the program, in the diploma program, students will look forward to all these, to be introduced to all these phenomena. All right. So I hope you have enjoyed those two phenomena that I've shared. And moving on, okay, I think I will give some time for Zach and his recording. So for Zach, he will share more about student life and what to expect in the diploma program. Okay, so let's watch what Zach has to say.
Hello and welcome. My name is Zach, a Year 2 student from the Diploma of Psychology Studies. Through this short presentation, I will shamelessly share some snippets of my life in TP as a whole, and more importantly about life in the diploma specifically. To kickstart the sharing, would anyone like to guess the answer to this seemingly inexplicable question? How am I a Year 2 student in my third year of Diploma Studies? Okay, I won't mess with your head, so let me just share why. I got into psychology through PFP. As we were from the normal academic stream, we started out as students from year 0 to catch up to our peers from the express stream. However, when I say catch up, I really meant overtake, because personally, PFP instilled a strong foundation of psychological frameworks and theoretical concepts within me, enabling me to grasp concepts that taught in the subsequent years with less struggle. So when I locked in my decision to join the diploma, I did it on a whim. You see, I chose my decision rather unconventionally. I did not do my research and join because I thought it would be cool to call myself a psychology student. I wish I could say I'm joking, but I'm not. That said, I stepped into school on the first day, full of excitement and anticipation, thinking that I would be Professor X by the time I graduated. Or at least, I would learn all about body language. And as you can probably tell, I was very narrow-minded. So, after my first week of school, I learned that actual psychology focused on empiricism, and that every hypothesis we make should be substantiated by empirical evidence. As budding behavioral scientist, this cycle was what I perceived psychology to be in my first semester of study. However, it is because of this cultivation of empiricism that enabled us to do the cooler things we do in the subsequent semesters, so patience and grit is key. Hang in there for the fun stuff. I was fairly intimidated in my first week of school and questioned whether I really belonged here. I was surrounded by some of the the most brilliant minds after all, classmates and lecturers alike. However, with such pressure, it only pushed me to work harder, and I acclimatized fairly quickly. So that said, with a heavy emphasis on empiricism, this analogy is a more accurate representation of what psychology students learn to do instead of making assumptions. I must admit though, the 17-year-old me still could not accept the fact that psychology does not teach mind reading, therefore the denial part. But it's fine. So throughout my first 3 years in psychology, I have a gist of what my lecturers actively strive to do for us, to enrich, nurture, and explore us to as many opportunities as they can. So now let us travel back in time and revisit my favorite modules. And I'll also be sharing how the 3 attributions came about then. In semester 1.1, my favorite module was RMS. As evident from the photo, most of my friends think the same, I hope. So this module was eye-opening. RMS taught me the importance of research and what we think is the general consensus actually may not be true. So I held my first study with my team in this module. We did naturalistic observations spent over 2 weeks on the MRT. And we realized that contrary to popular beliefs, 88.9% of Singaporeans do not give up their seats to elderlies. And that even if they do, most of the seat givers are middle-aged. How cool but tragic is that, right? And also, this module fueled and reinforced my passion for research and statistics so much that I discarded all aspiration to read mine. So recently, we even took part in SUSS Analytics and Visualization Challenge, where we utilized statistics to shed light on current issues in Singapore, and we eventually clinched 4th place. Semester 1.2 introduced what I perceive to be the hardest module to date. So despite the high cognitive effort required to grasp the theoretical concepts taught, I appreciated the fact that our group project required us to replicate the study, utilizing theories such as change and inattentional blindness. Through that, me and my group members bonded over the pain, as well as the deliverables we get to create prior to administering our study. To summarize, it was painful but fruitful. Through this module, I learned how to mess with my friends figuratively and literally. So special shout out goes to social and developmental psychology too. So in social psych, we learn about theories. We learn many theories about how individuals think, feel, and behave in social contexts. And I actually utilize theories like operant conditioning to increase my students' liking for swimming lessons. In developmental psychology, I learned about many developmental misconceptions, as well as ways to ensure we are optimizing our growth from insemination to growth. 2.1 was an eventful semester with many fun modules like counseling psychology, special needs and education, and APPA. That said, I love APPA the most. Through this mostly self-paced module, me and my team devised our very own research paper. Under the guidance of our supervisor Gabby, who seemingly mastered the art of scaffolding, we realized not to be complacent, for we are just frogs in the well. And it really pushed us to work on getting our researching skills and theoretical concepts up to par to ensure that, to ensure the successful completion of our study. Last but not least, my favorite module this semester as of now has to be contemporary issues in psychology. Very similar to cognitive psychology in terms of theoretical concepts and complexity, we learned how to use behavioral insight to nudge or influence behavior. So you might be thinking, influencing behavior sounds too powerful. What if this knowledge goes to the wrong hands? So I'm going to quote what my lecturer Wapiao said, and he quoted this from a book called Hook. So if it can't be used for evil, it is not a superpower. But parents, don't worry, we are taught ethics in the course, as well as to ensure we don't use our we won't use our superpowers for mass destructions. Learning about behavioral insights opened up my perceptions of the world, and it showed me that, BI is applied everywhere to subtly or perhaps luridly influence us to behave or act in a certain way. Now, you must be thinking, wow, seems like psychology is all about studying. Will it take up all my time? Don't worry, as long as you can manage your time, life outside you shall have. The lecturers in psych are usually very empathetic and understanding. So furthermore, they always try to schedule assignments and tests in a way to not overload us, so you're in good hands. I, for one, have terrible time management, but I could still be involved in co-curricular activities such as, being a subcommittee head for TP's very own sports club, a subcommittee members of TP's very own student union, and a member of the swimming and life-saving team. In fact, I think that the time I spend planning and attending such events are more than the time, this diploma takes up. So I'm sure you guys will do just fine. As I'm approaching year 3 in 4 months' time, I started thinking about the sector I want to venture into. So I love research and behavioral insights, so much that I'm currently a part-time research assistant at TP's very own Center for Applied Behavioral and Social Sciences. Hence, if possible, I would want to do something related to these two sectors. I would love to be attached to A-Star and SPF because their reputation precedes them, and I hope to contribute to their cause with the skill sets I developed in the diploma. Skill sets, very vague, right? Maybe let me highlight some of the skill sets Psych has equipped me with for you guys. So being in psychology inculcated a comprehensive and extensive research proficiency within us. We focus big on empiricism. We are often driven outside of our comfort zone to pursue scholarly work. Even if we do not pursue psychology in the future, research is an invaluable skill that every company benefits from. Secondly, the syllabus taught in the diploma is very close to university standard. Yes, it is tough, but the extensive theoretical concepts taught and opportunities for applications of psychology through collaborations with industry partners, observations, and experiments ensure that we have a holistic understanding of psychology. So these efforts ameliorate our portfolio, giving us an edge over the rest. Lastly, the diploma covers a wide range of psychology sectors for us to explore. There are too many to list, so please scan the QR code to find out more about the areas of psychology this diploma has to offer. Before I end my presentation, here are some tips I have before you venture into life as a psychology student. First draft, worst draft. So run through your work multiple times to ensure they are scholarly and, more importantly, free of grammatical errors. It's also good to identify some lecturers' pet peeves, such as Mr Izad's No Times New Roman font rule. Number 2, revise your materials before, during, and after lectures to encode them into your memory. Rehearsal brings results. Number 3, grasp every opportunity that Psych has to offer. They are there for a reason, so utilize them as best you can. Last but not least, build a good reputation. HSS, more specifically Psych, is a very small but close-knitted family. Hence, if you want to be well known, ensure that it's for a good reason. Furthermore, life is always more enjoyable when you're doing things with people you love rather than those you hate. So there is so much more that the Diploma of Psychology Studies has to offer. It won't teach you how to read minds, but it will teach you so much more. I won't delve into the specifics because if I do, I may need an additional hour or so. Surrounded by some of the greatest minds alive, I have no doubts every one of you will enjoy and benefit from every bit of your time here. Don't believe me? Come visit us at the open house and see for yourself. All that said, what are you waiting for? Join us and I look forward to seeing you guys around school. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. That was Zach, our current year 2 student. And I think, in fact, he's also in the room with us. And thank you, Zach, for the great presentation and sharing. And I hope that all of you here have gained certain information regarding about what's life like in the diploma program. And you can see that's what Zach has mentioned is that there's always a work-life balance, even though the course may be demanding, but we also would like our students to, live their youth and take part in CCAs in school and really have a work-life balance so that they can be mentally healthy and of course physically well. All right. Okay, so that was sharing by Zach. And
Hello and
we will now go on to our Q&A section. We have about 15 minutes before we end the talk today. If you have any questions, please forward the questions to the HSS Q&A, or you may like to click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. All right, I'll be looking at some of the questions and see whether there are certain questions that I can address. Yeah. So if any questions, please post that to the HSS Q&A. Right. So yes, I've been informed that there are no questions so far, which I think is a good thing because I hope my sharing was clear enough. But of course, you can always refer to our site website for more information, or you would like to come down to visit us on campus. We're going to have we have our course advisement area in TP where you can meet with our staff if you have any questions regarding the diploma program. All right. And you can also, our OH, our open house takes place since yesterday all the way until tomorrow evening. If you want to participate in certain OH activities, please come forward to the School of Humanities and Social Sciences and do a walk-in, and we'll be more than willing and we'll welcome you with open hearts. All right. Okay. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask right now so that I can try my best to answer them. Right. I have a question. How can one build their portfolio for the early admissions exercise? And I think this is the EAE admissions exercise that will be happening in July. All right. So I think for the portfolio, for the EAE, the main intention of EAE is really to assess, to provide opportunities for students with who are very keen in psychology, right, in the areas. So normally for portfolios, think about your areas of leadership or your areas in your involvement in the community or in any psychology related events or activities. So if you have actually participated in all these events outside of your school hours, I think it will be good for you to include all these in your portfolio. Yeah. All right, so I hope that answers your question. Basically, the EE, we want to look into not the academic abilities, but more into your leadership and your passion in psychology. So when you think about all those things, think about what are some of the things that you have been doing in your daily life, and whether you are volunteering in some old folks home or the orphanages and all those things, or helping the community. All these you can actually include in your portfolio. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Thank you again for that particular question. So for any one of you have any further questions, please feel free to post that so that I can address. Okay. Yeah, I think one of the questions that is also shared. Okay, before that, yeah, I think I have a question here. What is the intake for 2023? Well, I think the intake for 2020, in fact, for the intakes of every year, it kind of varies. But I think on an average, the intake that we normally have is around 75 students. All right, but again, depending on the cohort size, I mean, or the every year it may change slightly. So there isn't any fixed number that I'm able to share with you. All right. Okay. So on average, it's about 75 students. Okay. Yeah. So as I was saying, I think one of the questions or the common questions asked by potential students and parents is that, again, when you enter the tertiary institutions or the poly life, is very different from the secondary school life because it's less structured. Students are encouraged to be more self-directed. Okay, they are given more empowerment to be in charge of their own learning. So there isn't much of a spoon feeding. So do not expect lecturers to provide you with all the information because we want you to be more self-directed, to be all right, so that you can actually learn more effectively. Okay. In terms of the lessons, we have lectures and tutorials. On some days, you may not have classes at all. On certain days, you may have classes in the morning and you have the entire afternoon free, depending on your timetable for the particular semester. So it's not a fixed timetable every single day or every single semester. So it kind of varies depending on the subjects that you are taking for that particular semester, especially when you are taking on electives in your year 2, semester 2. All right. So that's something for you to note as well. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's see. There are no questions so far. And let's see. Let me just check the box. Okay, right. Another question, the projected cutoff point for 2023. Again, I'm not able to tell you because, again, it depends on the O-level results that will be coming out soon. But based on 2022, the cutoff point or the aggregate score, right, for psychology studies based on 2022 intake, it was 3 to 8. Okay, the aggregate score was 3 to 8 points. All right, but for 2023, I wouldn't know either because the results are not out. All right. Okay, I will just maybe leave about a couple of minutes for questions to come in. Otherwise, then we'll just wait for maybe 2 more minutes before we end off the session. Okay, all right. If you have plans later on, if you have nothing on your Friday, please feel free to come down to our campus for our open house. Just take a short tour around the campus, our beautiful campus, all right, around near the reservoir and all those things, and really get to know about all the diplomas and, for a more informed decision, right? So the course advisement areas will be at the main foyer near the main entrance of Temasek Poly, all right? Okay, let's see. Right, so far there are no questions. Let's see, I think there's one more. Okay. Okay, right. I think one of the questions is whether or not it'll be challenging if the command of English is not great. Well, I think in our course, there will be a lot of writing because students are required to write reports, write literature reviews, come up with presentation slides. And therefore, I think your command of English must be good enough for you to be able to form up a very well-established kind of report. All right. So I think, again, it depends on your comfort level. English can always be improved, but if you think that you have a strong passion and you're able to manage this gap, I think there shouldn't be any issue. But if you find that English is something that makes you very uncomfortable, well, I would just want to share with you that, of course, there are similar to other diploma courses, students will be required to write lengthy reports, and and it's something that will require a certain level of command of English or a certain level of competency in the English language, right? I hope that answers your question. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think there are no more questions. I thank you for all the questions that have been posted earlier on. And I think I would like to also thank you for taking the time to join me this Friday morning. And for those of you waiting for your O-level results, I wish you the best of luck. And on behalf of the diploma team in psychology, we wish you all the best, and we look forward to seeing all of you in Temasek Poly itself as our family. All right. So please have a good Friday and a good weekend ahead, and all the best for your O-level results. All right. See all of you. Take care and keep safe.